We're going to head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. Somebody with a question about what a suspension and a precedent it might set. So listen to this.
Hi, my name is Josh Lucas. I'm from Toledo, and I had a question about how a suspension levied by Judge Sue L. Robinson might set a kind of ugly precedent. It's been documented that there is little to no evidence to support that the claims against Deshaun Watson are accurate. Two grand juries heard the evidence and said, there wasn't enough to go to trial. Even the NFLs, through their investigation, threw out a number of cases because they weren't credible enough to pursue. So that having been said, if a suspension is levied, doesn't that sort of open a door saying that, listen, you don't need to have proof. Anybody can just accuse anybody of whatever they want, and you run the risk of getting a player suspended. So that's all I wanted to know. Hopefully I get to hear an answer. Thanks.
As always, appreciate all of the voicemails. And Daniel, you and I talked very briefly. We don't know what the evidence is because anything you're hearing now is leaks.
Yeah, that sounded like one of my law school professors with this, multi-tiered, multi-part question. So that's a great question, but I don't know that you can say a bad precedent is being set when we have no earthly idea what evidence has been presented to Sue Robinson. So we'll be in a better position to assess that premise maybe as soon as today or next week when Sue Robinson issues her written opinion where she's going to make findings of fact, very detailed findings of fact, where she's going to go through the evidence and assess it. So I think that question is better asked against the backdrop of an actual decision being rendered. So I'm not quite prepared to say that there isn't sufficient evidence because we don't know what the evidence is. In the absence of really having that kind of detail, it's premature to speculate that this would set a bad precedent. I think it might set a bad precedent if she ignores the absence of any discipline in some of the other cases involving NFL owners. That would set a bad precedent if owners could be held to a lower standard by the NFL despite statements to the contrary in the personal conduct policy, and then Sue Robinson ignores that. And if she ignores that in this case, what that really says going forward is that no NFL player is going to be able to rely on the disparate discipline doctrine as it pertains to other NFL owners.